Hey guys, what's up? We are back for another tier list video. This is one I've been wanting to do for a little while. Okay, I technically already did a DCEU tier list back when the latest movie at the time of that video was The Suicide Squad. But then eventually, and I planned on doing another video like, okay, well, like let's get all the rest of the movies out. Then I thought about it. I'm like, we could just redo it all together. Let's redo it. And like some of my opinions have changed. Well, not really changed, but more so I'd like to relay them better, if you know what I mean. And I felt like I was a little out there in that one, if though. So yeah. So yep. So the DC Extended Universe is officially done. We've had 15 movies, and it's gone for 10 years, and it started kind of strong with Man of Steel. I mean, it was a divisive movie, but it did have a lot of attention, so that's strong at least. Then the movies keep going and going, and then they get stranger and stranger with the decisions by Warner Brothers, like the whole Justice League thing, like reshooting that movie to be more corporate friendly and all that jazz. Then they made more solo movies, and people stopped seeing them. Like, say what you will about Marvel, their movies, at least most of them, they still make money. DC started losing money on their movies less, like they started losing money more and more and more. Like The Flash was definitely one of their biggest embarrassments. Like they really thought Michael Keaton Batman being in there would be a hit, and then it really wasn't. So so now we have all 15 DCEU movies plus one TV series, and also the fact that there are two different cuts of Justice League, which are basically two completely different movies. So, like, that's how I'm counting them. And we're gonna do a tier list of all of this. It's gonna be a much longer video than my MCU one, I'm sure, because I have a lot to say about some of these. And yeah, let's real quick. So we'll do this great. No, that's not how you spell great. And then good, decent, bad, or and worst. Yeah, I think we should do that. Yeah, I don't like the colors. They automatically go for here. Yeah. Okay. I like these colors better for this. So this is our tiers, and we'll go through every DCEU movie and one TV series. And I mean, I'll say it right off the bat too. I've actually enjoyed the majority of these. So, like, I'll say that right up front. I've been enjoying most of them, and I am actually kind of sad that it's done. But hey, James Gunn is in charge now. He's going to reboot the whole thing, and the announcements of all the movies he's done, they sound really cool, and I am really interested to see what he has to do. So, like, I mean, he directed one of the DC movies already, so we'll see how that goes. But for now, all 15 DCEU movies plus a director's cut and a TV series is, well, let's talk about them all, review them all, and I'm already wasting time. Let's go. So, first up one, it all started with Man of Steel, the Superman reboot, and of course, it was definitely one of the more divisive movies, definitely. And for me personally, I'm gonna put this movie in great. I actually really enjoyed this movie. Just um, I mean, it is sort of Superman Begins, like copy pasting Batman Begins in some way. Like, and Christopher Nolan even came back to produce it. Like, you have, of course, there's like they asked a question, what would this superhero be like if he came into the real world? Like Batman Begins and the whole Dark Knight trilogy tackled that question really interestingly. And here we do the same thing with Superman. And also the fact that he's going all over the world trying to figure out his purpose, and it keeps like the first hour is like flashbacking to his childhood, like recapping what he's been through, and of course showing a parent dying. I mean, but and then the second half is more action packed. There's more of a, oh, we gotta stop the villain kind of plot. And I do think Batman Begins is slightly better, but I still think Man of Steel is really solid. It just is Henry Cavill's performance as Superman. I love Christopher Reeve, but Henry Cavill is my personal favorite live action Superman. Just he makes his character feel more realistic. Like he questions his purpose. Like he's an alien sent from another world onto Earth. He has supernatural powers. People think he's a god and all that. And his human dad on Earth is telling him, "Okay, you have all these powers. What are you going to use them for?" Like kind of like Spider-Man, but it's different enough. And again, it is anytime they have conversations like that, it is extremely interesting. And I know people will say that some people don't like it because it's pretentious, but I like it. And then you have General Zod, who is, I'm thinking about it right now, but yeah, I think he might be. Yeah, I think General Zod might be the best villain in the entire DCEU. Yeah, I think he might be. Really thinking about it, just the fact that he's a Kryptonian who he was bred for one purpose, being to protect Krypton. Then Krypton blows up, and so now he plans on terraforming Earth into a new Krypton so he can fulfill his purpose. And he's really compelling. You really believe this is what he wants to do. And then, of course, his plan fails. So all he can do is fight. And he fights Superman to the literal death. Like Superman snaps his neck and all that. And I personally really like that scene in where Superman and snaps his neck and saves those people, which, by the way, that is probably the most bad faith criticism I've ever heard. Superman doesn't save people in Man of Steel. Like, are you sure about that? Let's see. Like I could just put together a clip show showing all the people he saved. Like there's that one guy who falls out of a helicopter. He saves him. Oh, literally, the first time we see a grown up Clark Kent, the first thing we see him do is save an entire oil rig of people after that whole thing is burning in fire. And he saves the entire world from Krypton being transformed. He saves the entire world from being terraformed into a new Krypton. Like, think about that. Like, sure, people died, but the majority of people are still alive. Like, I'm just saying, he saves tons of people. Well, and yeah, so I personally really like Man of Steel. Oh, and that's that. Okay, and then we have Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, probably the most divisive movie, and believe it or not, I am also gonna put this in gray. I think I slightly prefer it over Man of Steel. So, I mean, if we are talking about the theatrical cut, then it's indecent. It's like I enjoy it, but the pacing is really messy, and a lot of the heart it felt like was stripped out. But I am talking about the Ultimate Edition, the 3 hour version, and that for me, like it was supposed to be the Batman v Superman we were meant to get in theaters, and I think it's really really good. I mean, it's a good sequel to Man of Steel. Like, all right, like people were upset at all the destruction in real life, and they translate that in the movie. People are upset that Superman destroyed so much property, and they hold him accountable for that. And that is honestly really genius the way they respond to the audience, but it doesn't feel like a direct response to them. And then and Superman's again questioning, okay, should I be doing all this? Like I'm doing. He saves so much people, and he almost has a breaking point where it's like I'm saving people, but nobody appreciates it. But then eventually he remembers what's important, and he sacrifices himself by killing Doomsday. And yeah, we know he's not dead for long, but it really works for the story, especially since his death is what starts the Justice League. And then there's Batman. So, I mean, I've discussed Batman in this one before in the Batman tier list video, but uh, I personally think his character in this is pretty interesting. Like Ben Affleck's performance is really cool. Well, like he really does get show us the pain that he's going through, like feeling all alone, and the anger too. Like I think the anger is really interesting. The fact that he feels powerless once a god comes down from earth to from the heavens to earth, and he feels like he has to stop him. Like he's seen seemingly good people turn evil before. I mean, Two-Face is one of them. So he's like, all right, we got to stop him. And he even has nightmares of what could happen, and as a result, he starts killing people, and he starts killing them, but he's more like indirectly like, oh, you're in my way, all right, get out of here. Or he starts losing that one rule, no killing. He starts like ignoring it more and more before eventually he almost crosses the line when he is holding a Kryptonian spear and about to kill him, and and then and Superman and is able to tell him, hey, say my mom, please. And he realizes, oh, wait a minute, this alien actually has a human mom, and he's more human than I am being right now. Like people like to mock that scene, but it's actually emotionally powerful. At least it is for me. It's not. It is still kind of fun to mock it. Like what? Our moms have the same name, but it's not that simple. And and then of course, yeah. I mean, people don't like Lex Luthor in this, but I also like him. Like it is interesting having another actor you wouldn't think to play him. Like he brings another flavor to him we never seen before. And he also has a very interesting story arc about, oh, I want to kill Superman because as he blames God for the abusiveness from his father, and Superman comes down and he's like, "Well, you're kind of God now, so you gotta go." Oh, like that is really really interesting for a villain, and action is really cool. Probably my favorite. No, it's not my favorite, but it's one of my favorite Hans Zimmer scores too. Oh, and it introduced Wonder Woman's theme too. So, yep. I'm probably gonna get some hate for saying this, but I really like Batman v Superman, and 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 that's that. So now we move on to Suicide Squad, which, yep, definitely bad. It's gonna go in the worst tier. Yep, this movie's bad. Yep, I rewatched all the DCEU movies before Aquaman 2 came out, and watching this again, having not seen it in a while, yep, I do fully realize, oh, this is why it's bad. You have so many characters in this, like Harley Quinn, Deadshot, Joker, El Diablo, Captain Boomerang, Killer Croc, Rick Flag. You have so many of these characters, and they're all one note. like you barely get to know them very well. And yeah, like I noticed too, Rick Flag has this relationship with Enchantress, and he's all like, "We gotta stop her, even though that's my girlfriend." Like it seems like the movie wants that to be the heart of the heart, but then it doesn't really feel like it. It just because they don't really establish it very well, and obviously this is because of Warner Brothers interfering with the production because Warner Brothers sucks, and as a result, it's a mess. It's a really messy movie, and oh, what do I think of Joker in this? I don't care. I legit don't care. Like Jared Leto's performance is just whatever. That's all I have to say about him. I mean, he barely has any screen time, so I shouldn't talk about him that much anyway. So, and also the fact that it fails the premise of a Suicide Squad movie. Barely anybody dies. Like just Slipknot and El Diablo, they're the only ones that die. So you failed the premise of Suicide Squad. That's what the name's. That's what the word suicide is in there for. Like that's just a little funny. So yep, not very good. I mean, actually, one thing I will say though, they did perfect casting for Harley Quinn, having Margot Robbie play him. Like this is the movie that cast her, and she's great. Obviously, great Harley Quinn. So then we have Wonder Woman, which I'll put it in good. Like I like Wonder Woman. It was the first DCEU movie that was universally loved. I I prefer Man of Steel and BVS, but Wonder Woman is still pretty solid. It just it's Diana's whole arc about she starts off as a naive kid and then learns like oh Ares is causing people to be evil, and she does she has doubts in humanity, and then she of course she kills quote unquote Ares, and then oh wait humans are still evil. Though that's where the movie does sort of fall apart because then oh the real Ares comes in. The movie tries to have it both ways, like oh I like Ares manipulated man, but then also man have always been evil in the first place. Like what? Like which is it? It's really confusing, especially since Ares dies and then World War One ends. Like wait, that World War Two still happens, right? Like I don't really get it. Um, so that's the ending. The ending of this movie is definitely messy, but everything before it is still great. Like Diana, she's the beacon of hope in this world. Like I noticed that a huge chunk, most of the movie is really gray, and she stands out more colorful, especially during a whole no man's land sequence. And you really do feel the inspiration she's giving to all the soldiers there to go and fight the bad guys. And Gal Gadot, like great Wonder Woman. I cannot picture anybody else playing her. And yeah, not too much else I can think of. Just Wonder Woman is really good, guys. It's just that yeah, the ending is definitely a little messy. And then we move on to two different cuts of Justice League. I think you can guess my opinion on these. Yeah, the theatrical Joss Whedon version is, for me, the worst DCEU movie. And then the Zack Snyder cut is, for me, the best DCEU movie. Oh, oh. Yeah, there it is. The best. So obviously, the problem with the Whedon version is that there was so much freaking story Snyder had, but then he leaves because his daughter dies, and Warner Brothers brings in Whedon, and they ask him, okay, you got to cram like a 3.5 hour movie down into under 2 hours, and then you also gotta make it more funny, like. I don't entirely blame Whedon, even though I do blame him for the stuff he added, like adding in all the ridiculous jokes that don't match these characters at all, and like Batman talks more like Tony Stark, and like Flash is more quote unquote funny, and Superman talks more like Christopher Reeve's Superman, even though that doesn't match with his previous movies. And they focus on a random Russian family that's just around, and nobody cares about them. It's really weird. And you, of course, have the fact that because Henry Cavill was shooting Mission Impossible, they had to digitally take out his mustache. It, that is, it's still kind of silly that is in Hollywood history. Whereas the Snyder cut, the what the movie was supposed to be, it actually feels like a movie. Did it need to be 4 hours long? Not necessarily, but honestly, I the only scenes I would really cut are everything that happens after Cyborg's dad's speech, like the Lex Luthor Deathstroke teaser, the Nightmare sequence, and Martian Manhunter's cameo. I would cut all of that, but everything before that I think works really well. Oh, just as Batman after or like he had a falling out and he doubted himself and he ignored his no kill rule. Now he's much more hopeful and and it's really nice seeing him that way. And Diana has more hope in humanity now that she sees the good that they can do. And Flash has a cool character arc oh he's trying to break his dad out of prison, but then his dad is like, no, just don't worry about it, just do your own thing. And then he does, and that awesome time travel bit, like that always gets me in the feels. And though it doesn't really match with the Flash movie, but yeah. And Aquaman, of course, we discover he's really more of a jerk and heartless on the outside, but on the inside, there is still humanity inside of him. And Cyborg, everybody's called the main character, and I definitely see why he has the biggest character arc where he hates the all the mechanics that was put on him after that car accident, but then he eventually accepts who he is, even rejecting the Mother Box's request to bring him back to what he used to be. He's like, oh, nope, Alex, this is who I am now. And Superman too. Finally, he is the Superman we all know and love, where he's confident. He's confident that the world respects him as the superhero, and seeing him punch Steppenwolf is weirdly satisfying. And man, and it does suck too, knowing that this set up a really cool story about having Darkseid come in with like ending the world, and like Superman turns evil, Lois Lane dies, and then you got the whole time travel thing where Flash goes back to warn Bruce about Superman being evil and all these things. Now that's never happening, and it does make me sad. Like I really want to see that story, but it does seem like it's too late now. Like Zack Snyder has moved on to like Rebel Moon, and DC's moving on from this, so we're never gonna get that story, and that's sad. But at least we have this version of the movie that he shot. It is nice, and so that's Justice League. And then after Justice League, of course, the theatrical cut it bombs and underperforms. DC then moves on to everything else being more standalone. There's kind of more of their own thing, and it started with Aquaman. I personally think Aquaman is really good. I actually slightly prefer over Wonder Woman. I like Aquaman. I mean, first of all, the world building and the lore is insanely interesting. Like Like the fact that the you go underwater at Atlantis is and the CGI, it all looks insanely impressive. And and like the lore about King Atlan and the Trident is all really cool. And then Arthur's journey of course, accepting who he is as King of Atlantis, really nice. And Orm has a really interesting story arc too, and so does Black Manta, setting him up as a villain. Like it's all really cool. Well, and I even like Mara, like her story, like her romance with Arthur isn't that well fleshed out, but she does have those really cool powers. Yeah, yes, it does suck that Amber Heard is playing her. Yeah, I know. And the music is really fun too, kind of Tron like, and action insanely cool, and not much else I can think of. Aquaman is a lot of fun. And then you have Shazam, which Shazam I'll definitely put in good. Yeah, I think it's in between Aquaman and Wonder Woman. And Shazam is a lot of fun. And like the whole premise is already a fun idea. Like, what if a teenager or becomes a superhero by being transformed into an adult's body? Like you see him messing around, like taking advantage of that, and it's believable. And well, like all that's really fun. Zachary Levi really sells being a teenager, and and of course, you have the whole message about family. Like family makes you stronger. It's not a new message or anything. I mean, Fast and Furious is really popular about that. But you do feel the good intentions in there, especially with the villain and Savannah. Like he represents as the antithesis of that theme, and they're like no, and that's why he's ultimately defeated. And it just and it I do also really like how down to earth it is. Like it does feel like the Spider-Man Homecoming of the DCEU. Like Homecoming had that similar thing where it's down to earth. They're seeing the Avengers kind of the way we the audience see them. And Shazam's the same way. They've seen the Justice League as these cool superheroes, and especially when Superman pops up at the end. So yep, I like Shazam. It's fun. Then we have Birds of Prey, which yeah, you know what? I'll put it in good. I like Birds of Prey. It's the first R-rated DCEU movie. Well, unless you want to count BVS's Ultimate Edition, but yeah, it definitely takes advantage of that with some of the really gruesome things that happen in it. Like there's face peeling that Black Black Mask likes to do, and and we got more Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, killing it as always, and it is a bit of a messy movie. Admittedly, yeah. Like, is this a Harley Quinn movie or is this a Birds of Prey movie? It like because like the Birds of Prey don't really unite until like the last 30 minutes or so. Oh, and the other characters like Montoya, Huntress, Black Canary, like they're fine. I kind of like them, but they're not that cool. Oh, and I'm not really that excited to see more of them if they ever popped up again. But Harley's story arc I do like her and Joker break up, and now she's trying to be her own person. Like the whole idea of everybody wanting to get revenge on her because now that Joker's gone, there's no one to protect her. That's a really fun idea, and they take full advantage of that. And the way the movie tells its story too, with Harley narrating and the way it would jump all over the timeline, and it's fun figuring out, oh, this is what this takes place here because Harley's a crazy person, and like it's really fun. like kind of feels like Deadpool in a few ways, but it's still fun. And oh, and Black Mask too. Obi-Wan Kenobi himself, Ewan McGregor, is having a blast. Just his Black Mask is insanely fun, and he's able to do really fun, but also intimidating. Like I don't know how he does it, but he balances it out really well. So that's Birds of Prey. So now we move on to another pretty divisive movie, Wonder Woman 1984. You're probably going to hate me for saying this. Like, I've actually said a few times on the internet, I like this movie, and people look at me like, what? But I kind of like this movie. I'll even go so far to put it in decent. Yes, there are issues. Yes, there are. I know. The whole thing with Steve Trevor coming back to life in another person's body, and then Diana sleeps with him without that other guy's consent. Like, that's definitely one of those, oh boy, like, why did you do that? Like, I won't deny that, yeah. And like the whole wishing at the end, like, wait a minute, like it's a little weird. Like, would everybody really wish these things, or would they really renounce them the way they do? Like, I don't know. I don't really know. So, like, there are definitely flaws. Don't get me wrong, but I still kind of like it. I have a soft spot for it. Yeah, I mean, you got more Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, obviously, and you have like Maxwell Lord's story arc. I do think is kind of fun, and Cheetah's story. I like her story. Like, she starts off as this kind-hearted woman. Then she makes her wish to be like Diana, and she loses more and more of her humanity. But then she turns into Cheetah at the end, and that's where it goes downhill for me because her design is super lame. Um, but I mean, of course, the good message underneath about Diana, of course, learning to accept that Steve Trevor is gone, let him go. It's for me. It's powerful. I feel it, and when she's been losing her powers because she wished Steve to come back, but then she eventually lets him go, and seeing her fly, that gets me. It does. I do feel it. So, and also the fact that the Hans Zimmer track from BVS, Beautiful Lie, that played over the flashbacks of Bruce Wayne's parents dying, that same song plays over Diana's speech, each where she's talking to everybody to renounce their wishes. Like, that was a really genius move right there. So while I understand the movie is flawed, I have a soft spot for it. I enjoy it, even though I acknowledge it's flawed. And it's definitely not as good as the first one. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to get some hate for this. I can already foresee that. So now we move on to the Suicide Squad. The James Gunn's career at DC begins here. I'm definitely putting this in great, obviously. I prefer Snyder's movies, but the Suicide Squad is so darn good, guys. Like, it actually does the premise of Suicide Squad correctly. Like, people actually, literally, the first like 15 minutes or so, like, half the cast dies. Like, perfect. You've already executed the premise better than the original movie. And then, like, you really do, like, the first time I saw it, you really do feel the tension. Oh no, anybody could die. And I legit feel bad whenever they do, except for Harley Quinn. Like, she's the only one where it's like, yeah, she's not gonna die. Come on. And the characters here are so much more interesting, and like Bloodsport is not just a copy paste of Deadshot. Like, he has a daughter, but it's much more different, and he has and he has Ratcatcher 2 as sort of a proxy of his daughter. Speaking of her, she also has a story arc about uh, her purpose and with the rats and all. And I really do feel her resolution at the end when she has little rats go up against Starro. And Harley had a pretty cool bit with that guy. I can't remember what his name was, but the person she was hooking up with, and then she finds out he's doing some things, and she just shoots him on the spot. Like that, I do like that. That's a good continuation from Birds of Prey. Who else? Polka Dot Man. He's cool. He's fun. He's silly, but he's fun. And King Shark. He's the Groot of this movie, but he's still fun. And Rick Flag. I didn't care about him first time around. This time, he dies, and I actually feel bad because he has this. He finds out, oh, the Americans and help fund the whole Starro project. I gotta reveal this, and he doesn't get to do it. Like, man, and Peacemaker too. Who he's funny. Just this. Oh, like he on the outside, oh, he's a superhero. His name is Peacemaker. Like, oh, he's the good guy, right? But in actuality, he's a cold-hearted killer who kills anybody who gets in his way. Like, that's funny. And yeah, not much else. Oh, Starro, actually. They made me feel bad for a giant CGI starfish. Like when at the end when he's saying like, all I wanted to do was stare up at the stars and just like relax. You made me feel bad for him of all things. That's an accomplishment. So, yep, the Suicide Squad is great. So much better than the first one. I actually care about these characters, and I would love to see more of them. Hopefully, we will. Well, we did, which is the next topic of the next thing. That being Peacemaker, the TV series, which I'll definitely put in great too. So, more James Gunn being involved. We get to explore more of Peacemaker's psyche, and again, like James Gunn is really, really good at developing his characters in his Guardians movies, and here it's no different. I haven't seen the show in a little while, but I do remember or feeling all the emotions and the whole story arc about those butterflies is pretty fun. And I'm gonna have to rewatch it. I haven't seen it since the year it came out, but I do remember really, really enjoying it. Yep. And yep, and it's actually better than most of Marvel's Disney Plus shows. So that's pretty cool. Oh, so yeah, and then we have Black Adam. I'm putting Black Adam in bad. It's bad. Um, I like some of it. You know, I like Hawkman and Pierce Brosnan is Dr. Fate in this. They were the best characters, and I wish the movie was about them. The action scenes are really good, but they also reminded me a lot of Man of Steel. Oh, which I noticed something else I noticed about Black Adam. It feels like they were trying to copy Zack Snyder's style. Like a lot of shots like reminded me of Snyder's movies. Like some of it reminded me of 300, and like they try to have an interesting topic about oh, not every hero has to be a good guy and all that, but it doesn't really work. And like Black Adam, is he a villain? Like not really. Like I mean, sure he kills people, but plenty of other superheroes have killed people. So why is Black Adam any different? Like that's pretty much the only thing they say to suggest. Well, I mean, I guess he Like the only other thing I can think of is in the flashbacks it's revealed, oh, he didn't kill that king because of justice. He killed him for revenge. I'm still not buying it. I still don't really buy him as a villain, though. Just come on. Uh, like Dwayne Johnson would not want that. He wants him to be a good guy. Let's be honest. And man, remember when it felt like Dwayne Johnson was in charge of DC for a while? I am actually really glad this movie bombed because if Black Adam was an indication of what Dwayne Johnson's creativity would be, then I'm glad we dodged a bullet there. And like the one thing people were talking about when this movie came out was the credits scene when Henry Cavill came back as Superman. That was cool. That got me excited. And then 2 months later, James Gunn says, no, Cavill's done. He's not playing Superman anymore. Like, that did not last long at all. It is kind of funny how literally 2 months later, nope, he's gone. So, yeah, I don't like Black Adam. It is one of the most generic superhero movies I've ever seen. And it's not good. I'll probably not never watch it again. Same thing goes for this one. Shazam! Fear of the Gods. It's also bad. It disappointed. I, this movie disappointed me. It had potential, but it just didn't reach it. Well, actually, the biggest problem with this movie is that it feels more like, well, the first one was a success. We'll make a sequel, but it feels like the people behind it weren't as enthusiastic about it. And first Shazam, oh, it's all about a teenager being in an adult's body. Second Shazam, it has some of that. There's some of that fun charm. But for the most part, it plays out like a regular superhero movie. That's lame. And the villains in there, the Daughters of Atlas too, should have been Black Adam. But anyway, they have a motivation, wanting revenge and all, but it's not really developed very well. I don't really know what they're fighting for, and like Shazam's supposedly has a story arc about, like in the beginning of the movie, he calls his foster mom like by her real name, but then at the end of the movie, he calls him mom. It seems like that's supposed to be a character arc there, but the entire middle doesn't focus on that and instead focuses on more generic superhero action. I mean, he only really interacts with his foster mom in a handful of scenes. So, yeah, you failed. You failed with the character arcs and then there's the weird ending where he dies, literally dies, and then Wonder Woman comes out of nowhere to save him. Like, that is just very, really, really silly. Like, I didn't think Shazam was dead, but that was really silly the way they brought him back. And yep, it was a really disappointing movie. I was excited for it because I like Shazam, but it ended up being a big, big letdown. So that's Shazam 2. Now, then we move on to another. Do I want to say divisive? I don't know if I call it divisive. Yeah, I guess maybe another word for that. I'm not sure, but The Flash, which this movie, oh man, this movie, the lead up to this was a roller coaster. Like, oh my gosh, just thinking back on the lead up to this movie, it felt like everything was against it. They announced it, oh, it's coming out in 2018 during Snyder's original plan for DC. Nope, never happens. It doesn't come out in 2018. It gets delayed. Multiple directors go through it. They then decide, okay, we're going to do the whole Flashpoint thing. We're going to bring in Michael Keaton Batman. They announced that. It seems like it's getting back on track. Okay, we're speeding up. Nope, Ezra Miller. He then does some really bad things and or allegations of what he's done start popping up on the internet, and now people are like, nope, nope, we're out, we're not seeing this. Like, oh no, like so much stuff was against this movie that and it bombed. Like barely anybody wanted to see it. It is. I feel kind of bad for it because, believe it or not, I actually like this movie. I'll even put it in good right here, in between Shazam and Wonder Woman. And like, I know this movie's flawed. I know the CGI. Yeah, it sucks. And I don't like the cameos at the end. You know, like they resurrect Christopher Reeve's Superman on a CGI face. Looks like a video game character, and that was really creepy. Just seeing him there, like there are definitely flaws, sure, but I still really like it. I enjoyed it. Again, Barry Allen, Ezra Miller, we know he sucks, but his performance as Barry Allen is good. He has a character arc about he tries to save his mom by going into the past. Then he creates a different timeline that's where the world's gonna end, and he ultimately has to accept, okay, my mom's gone. Let's fix this. And I do feel it. I do feel for him when he says goodbye to his mom there. Like it's a well done story arc. Even well, mostly because then there's the whole way he still changes something since he changes that whole security recording so he can get his dad out of prison. Like, yeah, it's a little weird. Um, and also the fact that like the marketing was mostly making it more like a Batman movie. I was worried it was going to be more of a Batman movie. Thankfully, it does feel like it's a movie about Barry Allen. But I also love Batman in this. Um, like yeah, Ben Affleck. This is the last time we'll see him playing Bruce Wayne, and I love the way he recounts his arc, like how he lost himself, but he's sort of better now. Just perfect. Like I hate that he has so little screen time in this, but if that's the last we see of him, that last scene he has, I'm glad that's his last scene. And then you of course have Michael Keaton Batman in this. I love I really like the Tim Burton Batman films, and Keaton's performance in there was really good. I like him in this movie too. Like this is coming out around the same time as Indiana Jones 5. The problem with that movie was that it just started Indy as a sad old man. No. Stop doing that, Hollywood. This one, Flash doesn't do that. He starts off, when we meet him in this movie, Gotham is saved. So what he did actually mattered. Like that's great. That's good. And 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 his new costume is really good, and he has a really cool fight scene in Russia, which is by far the best Batman Michael Keaton fight scene in all three movies he's been in, and I love the way I love his Batwing too, and also the fact that they play the Danny Elfman Batman music, or whenever he would pop up. Like it was played in Justice League, the Whedon version, and it didn't really fit there. Here, it fits a lot better because it's for this version of Batman, and just I personally really like it. And I guess George Clooney too popped up at the end, which that was kind of fun. And oh, Supergirl was in this too. I want to see more of her. We know we do have a Supergirl movie coming. I hope the actress who played her in this movie is going to be in that one because I want to see more of this Supergirl. So that should tell you enough. I really like her. Like I understand, yes, the CGI sucks and the cameos at the end suck, but I still really enjoy this movie for what it is. And then we move on to Blue Beetle, which nobody seemed to care about Blue Beetle. Like pretty much Like, did anybody even notice that it came out? Like, I don't know if I did. Yeah. So I missed it in theaters, but then I saw it. I enjoyed it. I honestly did kind of like it. Mm, ah, no, let's actually put it right there. I kind of liked Blue Beetle. Well, it was fun. It was fun seeing more Mexicans in this, and Jaime is is likable, and the fight scenes are pretty cool. CGI actually looks really cool for a superhero movie. The whole Blue Beetle idea is pretty fun. Villain is underdeveloped as always, like the villain was in the Marvels. So definitely not a great movie, but I still enjoyed it when I watched it. So I don't really have that many notes thinking back. Yeah, I liked it, but yeah, not great though. And finally, the final DCEU movie we have is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Yeah, it's a little weird that this is the last one, but where am I gonna put it? Uh, no, let's put it. Uh, yeah, we'll put it in decent. It, I enjoyed this movie. I kind of liked it. Like it is cool seeing more of the underwater world, seeing more, and Black Manta has that trident. I don't. I think it's a little weird though the fact that the trident possesses him, but it's like he already has a good motivation to fight Aquaman. Why does he need the trident possessing him? But more cool action. The best thing about it, though, is the connection between Arthur and Orm. They have a sort of a Thor Loki dynamic, but where and Orm has kind of a redemption arc, and I really do love his resolution at the end, and the chemistry between him and Arthur is really solid, and and thankfully Amber Heard's Mara has less screen time in this, and there's that too. Um, yeah, not too much notes about this one, except I enjoyed it. Though I definitely its plot is definitely a little bit more convoluted, and I prefer the first one overall. So, so with that said, that is my entire DCEU tier list. Oh wow, we're at 54 minutes. Wow, oof. Didn't even realize we were that long, but here we are. Um, so yeah, not much else to say. Hey, rest in peace, DC Extended Universe 2013 to 2023. Let's see what James Gunn has in store. And that will be it for now. So, peace.